that you send that via chat, and I can read the questions for Coach Byington, and we'll proceed that way. Appreciate your patience with that, and we'll get going here in a few minutes.
Can we let the one with the baby be unmuted? That'd be fun.
Yeah, right.
Like they're gonna have a good time then.
Well, the baby might be my daughter.
It is totally Katie.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we definitely should unmute her. Yeah. Hi, Ari.
So Cliff, is this the first time we've done a Duke Club meeting in this form or fashion?
We did a trivia night a few weeks ago in this fashion. You were a lot more popular than our giveaway package, so there's a lot more people.
Wait a minute.
Hey, can you settle down?
It should be on there. I don't know why it's not doing it. I guess it's because it's not doing this. Darn, I can't get a picture of you. It's muted. Well, it doesn't say. No, it's unmuted right here.
You're not muted.
So I know, start what? I need a picture. Start video, I guess. There it is. Okay, sit down.
That's probably my mom. That's how our Zoom conversations have gone with her. So it very well could be.
With my mom, our Zoom conversations, I can only see this much of her head when she's talking to me. So we're still working on that.
Go ahead. Okay.
All right, I'm trying to clear all the participants in the waiting room.
Yeah, he's smart. I'll show you how to go down if you want to be muted, but you don't need to mute it until they start the meeting.
Okay, we're going to get started here in a second. So again, real quick for those of you that just joined us, if you could mute your audio, we're going to get started. And then the way we'll handle questions, there's a chat feature at the bottom. It says chat right there in the middle of the bottom. You can just hit that button, send questions to me. I'll read them to Coach Byington. The best way to view the video so you can see Coach talk or me talk and ask the questions is at the top. Hit the speaker view, and then whoever is speaking, they'll show up on your video. So thanks for joining us tonight. And first and foremost, I'd like to wish and hope that all of you guys are healthy and safe in the crazy times that we're going through now. And I really, really appreciate you guys joining us for our second JMU Duke Club Happy Hour. For those of you that were nice enough to join us on the first one, we did a trivia night. We were happy with that, so we've decided to do these a little bit more often. I'll talk about that in a second. I did want to take this opportunity, though, to talk a little bit about Coach Brad Babcock, who passed away this week. Brad was a baseball coach and an administrator here at JMU, and really one of the pillars of JMU athletics. It's been a rough 9 months or so. We lost Dr. Tom Martin, a longtime soccer coach here. We also lost our football coach, Chalice McMillan, and lost Brad this week. So just wanted to convey on behalf of the Duke Club and behalf of JMU Athletics, our thoughts and prayers are with Brad's family during this difficult time. So as we get started, as I said, if you have questions, please use the chat feature. This is something that we were excited about, the feedback that we got. So we're going to go ahead and do for the next few weeks a Duke Club Happy Hour every week. We were really thankful that Mark had the opportunity to join us today and to do the first one. Next week, we'll have a trivia night for next Thursday, and we'll be joined by Coach Marlon Eikenberry of the baseball team, and he's going to help us host a trivia night and also talk about JMU baseball. The next Thursday, June 18th, we'll be joined by women's basketball coach Sean O'Regan for a Q&A similar to what we're doing with Mark. So Mark's really the guinea pig for this Q&A session, especially on this Zoom call. So as I said, appreciate everybody joining. And Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you, Cliff. And I think we all need a reason to be happy right now and to be together and see people any way we can. And hopefully everybody's got a drink of choice, whether it's coffee or an adult beverage or whatever else, and we can have a good time here next hour.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a question, and I'll get us started. And, I ask really hard-hitting questions here at the Duke Club. But I saw something on one of your tweets that was a little upsetting, and it said, "How about them Cowboys?" So can you confirm or deny that you're actually a Dallas Cowboys fan?
All right, so I think everybody knows I grew up in Virginia, and I could blame my middle brother. So my father went to grad school at Pittsburgh, and my oldest brother, both of them were Pittsburgh Steelers fans. And in the 70s, Pittsburgh had great teams. And my middle brother always wanted to go against kind of what they did. So it was either, the biggest rival of the Steelers. So he got me into the Cowboys, and never thought I was growing up in Redskin territory or anything like that. And there's been some times, some frustrating years there, and that I was like, you know what, do I really want this? But I think the best thing about me and the Cowboys is that's like the one true passion that I have, so I can relate to being a fan. And I know, like, when fans are yelling behind me, like, why isn't coach doing that? And I want to be like, you don't know what's going on. Well, you know what? I did the same thing to the Cowboys offensive coordinator, and I'm yelling at him like, it's 3rd and 1. Why is Zeke not in the game right now? Why is he like running the ball? So I'm a fan too, and just like right now, it'd be great to be a fan and being able to yell at the coach right now. I think we'd all like to yell at the coach, say you don't know what he's doing, and to cheer for a team when things are going good and ride those emotions.
Yeah, I think I speak for all of us when we say we can't wait till we can yell at you on the court. I will ask you a serious question. I know I've had the pleasure of working with your coaching staff already, and Coach Baker has made it a point, and you've made it a point to really connect with our JMU basketball alumni. Why is that so important to you?
Well, because I want everybody to be a part of it. Whether and it's kind of just different categories. If you played for JMU and you were on that court, you gave blood, sweat, and tears, to represent the school. And I want you to be a part of it. If you went to JMU and, and you're a proud alum, I know you have a passion, for where you went to school and the success, and I want you to be a part of it. And then the same thing is if you're just a fan and, you've invested time and commitment and your hours in your life to cheering, I want you to be a part of it. So we're trying to reach out to all different levels. And one thing we're doing is we're doing a basketball alumni letter once a month and kind of just updating, all the guys in our basketball community. I've tried to spend a lot of time, not just, being involved in researching the history, but also getting the exact person who was involved in it. So I've talked to every former coach here, that's still alive except for Lefty Drizel. And I talked to his son. His son, Chuck Drizel, is a good friend of mine. So Coach Campanelli gave me a call. I talked to him. I've talked to all the coaches. I'm trying to research and make sure and ask people, what was good, what was successful, what did you think you did right, and what did you learn from? So when you're building stuff, you want to take in all the information you can. I want everybody to be a part of it because we're building something big. And I don't know what level we are right now. We might be at the bottom. We might not be at the bottom. We got to see when we get everybody back. But whatever it is, I want everybody to be a part of it.
Great, thanks. The queue's starting to fill up, so I'll just start rifling through questions, Coach. Pim Yager asks, other than winning games, what do you think you will need to do to bring back the electric zoo atmosphere that you experienced as an opponent?
Well, I've had some good conversations with our marketing department here, and I think we have an opportunity to take advantage of some of the great traditions in the past, but then also, build traditions and do some things different. And we got some good ideas coming, and I can't take credit for them, but I've had some meetings that there's going to be a whole different environment. And one thing, when people get in a new arena, just the capability of doing certain things. When we get a dunk, there's going to be a replay. When there's exciting play, you're going to look at the Jumbotron. The lights, the music, it's going to be all these technology things. So we got a capability to do other things traditionally that maybe hasn't been done before. I know the old Convo, had its, special moments and good times there, but just what we're going to be able to do technology-wise, add new tradition and still honor in the past. I mean, we're going to be able to do some cool things.
Great. Yeah, and, you know, I think one of the biggest things in the difference that people will see is you talked about the old convo. The original scoreboard from 1982 was still in the convo and in use up until last year. So should be really exciting in the new Atlantic
Can we
Union Bank.
auction it off or anything? What can we do with that?
I don't know what somebody, the technology is pretty rough, but yeah, I'll auction anything off to make money.
Does anybody want that in their house? You can nod. Well, let's go and get the bid and going. Somebody might want that in their living room.
Exactly. So I'm sorry I opened up this Cowboys questions. Somebody asked, Alan asked, does being a Cowboys fan violate your code of conduct clause? I actually think I know who that is, and that's pretty funny. All right, so this is from Chip Rosenberg. Coach, I moved to Wilmington just in time to see Kelvin Keats take UNCW to the 2 CAA championships. It was exciting to watch your alma mater. Can you promise you won't leave for the ACC after 4 years?
Yeah, so I got to tell you, Kevin Keats, I got off the phone with him 15 minutes ago. He's one of my good friends. Kevin Keats grew up in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I've known him for a number of years, and we bounce ideas off. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, just I know going on the side of it, that we've been trying to research and say, you know, everybody's been successful in the league here recently. What have they done with their program? And it's been kind of different things. You know, Hofstra's had success recruiting New York area and junior college, but Kevin Keats had success recruiting transfers. And he had a lot of transfers come in there, and they did well at Wilmington. And I know Charleston, you know, what they've done and how they built it up. So we're kind of looking at different things. And my phone call with Kevin Keats, you know, we jab each other pretty good. And one of the things was, I was like, you know, what was the league like when you were there? And what advice you have for me? So, you know, I'm not planning on going anywhere. You know, I could tell you, I forgot what a painful thing moving is. And I threw my shoulder out moving, not just a physical pain and everything else. So some of my stuff's still in boxes. They're going to get unpacked, but I don't want to move anytime soon.
Well, there you go. That's good news. Next question is from Gerald Bliss and said, what do you feel is your biggest challenge to getting us to the top of the CAA?
It's just, you know, it's a couple of different things, but at the same time, we're not far away. So in college basketball, sometimes you're just a couple players away or just a couple changes away. So you're never really that far out. It's not like the NBA, and the NBA is a comparison that if you don't have a superstar or really multiple superstars signed to long contracts, you're going to be where you are for a long time. And then college basketball with the turnover and what you're able to do with your roster, you're never that far away. So, you know, we got to get some guys. We got to get some guys in and get them working and playing and build something. But no matter what it is, you know, I just don't feel like in college basketball you can't turn things around quickly. I've never said it's a long-term rebuilding process, and I've said this a lot of times. Like we're trying to win now. We're trying to win championship next year.
Great. We did get a question that is about somebody that you're currently recruiting. So Coach can't comment on current recruits. So we're going to skip that question, but I do appreciate it. Next is from Chad Hanna. And what do you see in terms of out years? So the number of years looking out for booking high major, basically what's your scheduling philosophy, either home or away? Can you get big games? What's your philosophy on taking big games on the road, and can you draw those folks at home?
Well, we're fortunate right now that, and I didn't do this. It was the previous administration and staff that got UVA to do a 2-for-1 deal. And so UVA is coming to open up the AUBC arena for us this year, or not to open it, but to play in the arena this year. And those games are hard to find, especially when you get good. And so maybe sometimes you can find a 2-for-1 game against a team in the SEC or ACC or Big Ten or something like that. But they're not coming unless they think they're winning all 3 of them. So if they do a 2-for-1, they think they're going to win all 3 of them. When you get good, they're going to say, no, thank you. And my scheduling philosophy, I think you'll see it this year when our schedule comes out. The team last year played a 1 quad 1 game. And that's kind of the new thing the NCAA does when it's kind of an elite game. It's a high level game that they either think it's on the road against a good team or home against a good team. So it's one quad one. And we're going to have 4 quad one games next year. So it is going to be amped up. We are going to play 2 teams in the ACC. We're going to play 1 team in the SEC, 1 team in the American Conference. So I'm not scared of scheduling. I love it. I feel like this. I want to be battle tested by the time we get to CAA. And sometimes, you lose a game in the non-conference and you really win by losing because you figure out something, you get better, your team gets better. And, where I was previously, I think multiple times we had a top 25 non-conference schedule in the country. Like we were playing some people. And we're going to do the same thing here. I would love to get high major teams in their own building. But once we get this thing rolling, they're not going to answer our phone calls.
Hey, Mark, could you explain real briefly what the quad system is and what's an example of a quad 1 team versus a quad 2 team?
Yeah, so actually it is complicated to explain. I need graphics and different things behind me. The simplest way I could say it, if you play a road game and it's a team that use the net rankings now, and it's the old RPI, they don't use that anymore, use a net ranking. And if you play a team that's a top, I think it's 60 team on the road in the net rankings, that's a quad 1. If you play if you play a team that's top 40 at home, that's a quad 1. So you can kind of see where we're going to go. And I've already said we're playing UVA, and then you'll figure out the rest of it here pretty soon. But we're going to have 4 games basically against top 60 teams or higher.
Great, thank you. And that's obviously to encourage teams to not pad their schedule, right?
And did I confuse everybody even more by explaining that? I probably should have said next question, right?
No, that was good. I set you up for that one. The next one is from Michael. It said, "Hey, Coach, welcome to the Dukes." His question revolves around style of play. At Georgia Southern, it looks like early in your tenure, you're a middle of the road in adjusted tempo, where if he says adjusted tempo, he probably knows what quad 1 and quad 2 are. Whereas the last 2 years, you played at the 14th and 41st fastest pace in the country. Was this by design as you got more of your personnel intact? He also said, I saw you'd mentioned you like to play fast in articles, but was wondering if the current roster may mean this isn't possible immediately.
Yes, somebody has a Ken Palm subscription, and because they're speaking my language. I love talking analytics and that, so I know exactly what he's looking at. So we're gonna fit it what's best to win now. And so with the guys I have on the roster, the only frustrating thing I have right now is I don't have anybody around. My players aren't around, and we're doing Zoom meetings like this. We're watching film with them. We're trying to teach them our language, our vocabulary, do the best we can. But I don't have them on the court. And so I got to see how things interact with each other. One of the things right now that I'm seeing is we're going to have a lot of guys with size that can play. And when I was at Georgia Southern, a lot of times we played 4 guards or like a couple wings, the big wings, and not really. So we were playing really fast to get up and down the court. But where I want it to go, I want to play fast. I want positionless guys. I do like the skill set of even some of our big guys. I don't think we have to play a bigger, slower style, even if we go big. But we will adjust to the personnel. I'm not stubborn. I'm not saying it's got to be this way and everybody has to fit, because I take pride in constantly trying to grow and evolve. So I'm kind of ready to go down different paths. When I get guys together, I think I can go down one path or I can go down another way. And, seeing the guys in person will make that a little clearer. But I do think one thing I'm excited about is we're going to have some competition for playing time. And if we get everybody eligible, which is kind of like leaning that direction with some of these transfers, get these guys on the court. I mean, it's going to be fun. Practice is going to be intense. Guys are going to have to compete in practice. And when they get after in practice, the old saying is, iron sharpens iron. Like, they're going to be really battle tested by the time they get the games.
Great. Next question is from Hunter Thomas. The past few years, one of the major weaknesses we had was our defense. Our help defense and communication was poor. What's your defensive philosophy, and how will that help us win? You can tell that's from a high school basketball coach.
I was going to say, this is the most educated Zoom call and I've only had that many, but this is a very educated Zoom call, and these are in-depth questions. So the fastest way you want to get from the bottom to the top is defense. And I didn't make that up. Coach is smarter than me. He said it, and it's absolutely true. And the team finished 10th last year. And if we want to get to 10, to the top 3, top 2, top 1, it's going to be on the defensive end. So, you know, one of the things that we looked at and kind of studied, and I think I've watched every game but 5 games from last year. Most of the games with my staff, we've broken down so we know our personnel and know which direction to go in, is you know, what we got to do is we got to take away, and it sounds simplistic, and it really isn't that complicated. We got to take away easy baskets. So last year, there was some issues, I think, giving up too many layups. And it was layups and open shots. And the ways we're going to do that, we're going to protect each other. We're going to do some things on defense to schematically take them out of certain things. We're not going to let teams just run their offense. You know, even though I'm a Cowboy fan, I got a lot of respect for Bill Belichick. And he always says this phrase, I'm going to make teams play left-handed. And we do some similar things in basketball that if this is what you're trying to do, we're just not going to let you just run what you want to do and kind of just take punches. You know, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to take you out of some things, but it's right on the same message we're giving our guys right now, that the fastest way from the bottom to the top is on the defensive end.
Great. Next question is from Stu McClear. He said, Coach, what was the deciding factor that made you accept the offer at JMU?
Well, I wanted the job even before I interviewed, and because I had this feeling of first off, growing up in Virginia, knowing how great JMU was. My brother went to school here. My sister-in-law went to school, and you know, if Lefty would have thought I was good enough, I might end up playing for JMU. But he moved on. He thought I wasn't good enough, so that was fine. But before my interview, I already was excited about JMU. And I tell you what, when I met Jeff Bourne and talked to him, and I met the administration, and I saw that our visions matched, and I saw what they wanted and what I want to do, and being aligned with the president, being aligned with the AD, and everybody else, and having a shared vision, that by the time I finished my interview, I told myself when I was driving back to Georgia, I said, I'm going to be crushed if I don't get this thing. I really want this job. And sometimes you're involved with things and you're like, if I don't get it, no big deal. But before I really wanted it, before my interview, by the time I interviewed and I met the administration, I really wanted this job. So it was a blessing for sure.
Great. Next question is from Lori Lowe. How can we convince quality players to come to JMU when our program has been struggling for so long?
Well, there's a couple things on that. So like here's going to be a benefit. We bring a lot of our recruits to football games. And so a lot of times we're going to recruit against other schools that are going to bring their recruits to a football stadium that's going to be half empty. Their football team's going to suck, be no environment and everything else. So we're going to be able to show our recruits a fan experience, a sporting environment that's going to be awesome. So that's one thing we got to do there is hopefully have football, which I think is trending in the right direction, but getting them there. The facility is going to be big. It's not going to be everything, but it's going to be big. The campus will blow young men and families. It's going to blow them away. The campus is second to none. So it is us as coaches, we got to evaluate. We got to bring in the right guys, the right fit and everything else. And just like anything else, like we got to recruit a lot of guys right now. Like we're going to be told no, which is fine. Sometimes there's 9 no's before there's a yes, and we might recruit a large number. But as we can start sitting there saying, all right, look at this, look at the success. And as we start building and everything, you know, then it'll start being where players will call us and they will be recruited by JMU. One of the things I like right now is we're recruiting 2 young men who one of them's family is from the area. They know how special JMU is. Another one's family member went to JMU, and they're just like they're doing the recruiting for us. And so if you ever had the experience of getting on campus and everything else, it's going to take care of itself. but we're going to keep, recruiting higher level. And I just don't want to have the mentality that we're going to take a backseat to anybody, whether it's an ACC school, whether they went to Atlantic 10 or Conference USA. Like we're going to put our product up against anybody. When they get to campus, we're going to blow them away. We're going to sell relationships. We're going to sell the passion. And then the wins, once we start showing the wins, it's really going to be taken off.
Great. I'm gonna give myself a little plug here. You guys heard what Coach Byington said about a full football stadium. Our priority deadline is June 15th for football tickets and your Do Club gift. So please keep that in mind. Next
Hey,
question.
Cliff, and I had something. I saw an awesome shirt yesterday. When I was at the gas station, and somebody was on the pump beside me. They had a shirt on, and I really wanted to ask them, but I didn't want to scare them. The shirt said, "We tailgate harder than your team plays."
Yeah.
And I just thought, man, I can't wait for the tailgates. I can't wait to watch the football team. And I hope it's the same thing in basketball. I hope you can say you're tailgating hard or partying hard. Our team's playing really hard too.
Well, I can say this. We might not win every football game, but we win every tailgate. The next question is from Justin Tarble. Coach, there's a lot of similarity between Statesboro and Georgia Southern and Harrisonburg and JMU. What are some of the things that stand out about JMU that helped you want to coach here? So you've kind of answered that one, but it was that this is more around the two cities.
Yeah, Statesboro is a little smaller than Harrisonburg, and the both cities are great. I think both of them are really passionate about their universities. A lot of similarities there, and they've had football there that's been successful, and it was up and down at the time I'm there, but football here is rolling, and I think that there's differences. Harrisonburg's bigger. The basketball programs are kind of in a similar state when I took them over. When I took over Georgia Southern, it was, I think, 7 straight losing seasons before I went there, and I got caught up in a quote that somebody sent me when I first took over the job, and it was by Coach Krzyzewski. And it was on my wall, and I've actually maintained it. And I brought it up to my wall here at JMU and then put it on my temporary office over at the convo. And it's if you coach culture, the wins take care of itself. And that's what we're taking. I'm not worried about – I'm not going to be telling our guys, go win the game. I'm going to tell them we do what's right and then take care of business. The wins are going to take care of themselves. And sometimes when you're building – and the schedule we're going to play, I mean, we might get beat up or we might beat other people up. But at the same time, we might lose a game and still be getting better. And the way the CAA is, I want to be really good at the end of February and beginning of March. And so sometimes you build calluses and toughness and learn things along the way, and you build your program up that we got to be there at the end. Because like it or not, the CAA right now is not a multi-bid league. So we got to have magic in the tournament. We got to make a run in the tournament, and we got to make sure we're battle tested by the time we get there.
He had actually a 2-part question. The second part was, over the past few years, student engagement with men's basketball has been really low. What do you do to plan to reconnect with students and get them excited about going to and actually staying at games?
Well, first thing is getting them back to campus, and that's step number one. You know what? It's not just going to be me. It's going to be a lot of people that are going to do different things to engage them. I think Cliff, you've been around me for a little bit. I don't say no to anything, so I brainstorm a lot. I'm like, give me ideas, and then I'm going to go do them. If you got ideas, I'm going to do them. But it's going to be similar to what I said with the fans is I want to get them there and get a part of it. I want to make sure they know our young men on the team. I just don't want to say, this is the guy that sits in your classroom. Like, I want you to know him. I want our players to interact with the students and make them understand that, hey, we're all in this together. So our students are going to love the environment where they're sitting and different things at the new arena. They want to see wins. Our women's basketball has done a great, unbelievable job of kind of building up support. And it's because they're winning games. They play a fun style, and we're going to have similarities. But I think this year, our home non-conference schedule is really, really good. And if you're going to plug those football tickets, go ahead and start plugging those basketball tickets where I know our schedule hasn't come out, but just have some faith. There's going to be some really, really good home games in there.
The good news about that is you have until August the 1st, but you can get tickets right now by going to jmutickets.com. Was that a good plug? That was my radio.
That's perfect.
We actually do have premium seats available. We have all seats available. You can go to jmusports.com or jmutickets.com.
And for the right price, they can sit in my seat, and I'll come sit in the stands or wherever if they got a good seat. So
there you go. And then you can yell at that person for not playing.
Yeah. We need a coach for the day. We got to have something there.
We can definitely do that, auction it off, and they can sit at the end of the bench. That'd be good. Next is from, and it's a similar question, Coach, but it's a little bit different. This is from Riley Trone, and he said, hey, Mark, what's your staff planning to do to get some of the basketball alumni back on campus and involved? We talked about sending them a newsletter and getting back in touch with them. How about getting them back on campus?
Yeah, so we're trying to personally reach out to as many of them as we can. And we were able to try to get emails and contact information. I'm trying to find guys kind of in different areas who can kind of be my ringleader to get in touch with these 3 or 4 guys, or who do you know? I can say this, we've actually spoken to a good amount of them. I talked to Sherman Dillard, who was, you look at his statistics here at James Madison, was unbelievable what a heck of a player he was. And, just inviting guys, like Darren McClinton and the guys who played even last year or the guys who played 50 years ago. And I want to make sure that we all get them back. I want them to see the new arena. We're trying to give them information about what's going on with us with newsletters. We're going to do alumni weekends that are going to be, not just coming to an event where we don't see each other. We're going to do different things. We're interacting. I want them to give advice to my current players. And some of these guys who went through at JMU can give unbelievable life skills and professional advice and different things they went through to our current players. So I want to share their wisdom with our current guys. And just like I said before, they're going to know they're a big part of it. That's
great. And a perfect segue. Jack Rayleigh is one of our JMU basketball alums who's on the call and had a question. Are you going to recruit in the DC area, particularly in the WCAC?
Oh, if he'd have been in our 3-hour film session today with my assistant coaches, we were watching a bunch of players in that area. So I addressed it with my staff. I hired a guy, Xavier Joyner, who's an assistant coach who his background is all up in that area. He worked at Paul VI, which is one of the best basketball programs in that area. Also AAU-wise with Team Takeover. And, knows the Maryland, D.C. area very, very well. And then I hired another guy named Calvin Baker, who was a player at William & Mary, was actually all-conference in the CAA, and then transferred to Virginia as a walk-on, but earned a scholarship, ended up being a captain of Virginia, who also, has extreme ties in that area. So it's such a talented area. It doesn't make sense for us not to be involved in there, recruit there. And right now in our current roster, we have just one player, Matt Lewis, who's from that area he's talking about. But we are bringing in somebody else at transfer, a guy named Vado Morse, who's also from the Bulla School, not too far from there.
Great. This question is from Tim, and it was regarding talking about playing fast, and said, with playing that fast, will there be an emphasis on shot selection?
Yeah, it's never a good time to take a bad shot. And so, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get the first good shot available. And if it's 27 seconds left on the shot clock, great. But if it's not available, we're going to be aggressive all the way through the possession and kind of staying aggressive. But I could tell you this, teaching shot selection, anybody that's ever coached basketball before, is one of the hardest things to do, because the players will look at you funny every time you tell them it's a bad shot. And they'll look at you like, Coach, I can make that. And truth be told, I said the same thing when I was a player, when my coach told me I was a bad shot. And I said, he don't know my game. But as a coach in my seat, shot selection, we're not shooting bad shots. But we're going to take the first good when it's available, if it's the right time and score and the game flow.
So you don't prescribe to the shoot when you're hot, shoot to get hot theory?
Nah, the ball's got to find the open guy.
There you
The,
go.
the open guy, he's the one to shoot the ball.
Next question is from Joe Kuykendall. He said, what was your mindset in hiring? You've talked about a couple of your coaches just now. What was your mindset in hiring your staff, and how do you think they complement you?
That word compliment is probably the biggest thing in my staff. They need to know, first off, we got to have a shared mission on what we want to do here. And kind of, I like to have people around me that are hungry, that are motivated, that want to prove something. And coming in a situation like this where we're taking a routine to finish in last place, well, we all got to have a chip on our shoulder. We all got something to prove. And right now, taking over this thing, we're not at the destination. You know, the finish line is way, way in front of us, and we got to be going. So the characteristics of my staff, a couple of them came with me. They know our system. They know my personality, know how to implement things. The new guys want something to prove, or know an area, or know how to recruit, or know a position. So it's basically my staff's got to be able to cover my weaknesses, but then at the same time, like, we all got to be shared and aligned and be able to push this thing forward.
Great. Next question is from Ray Sillenberg. Share with us the 3 most important things you learned from Bobby Crimmins.
Oh, wow. 3. Well, number one stands out really, really quick. If you care for the players and truly care for them, they'll run through a wall for you. And Coach Crimmins was so unique on it that it wasn't even always about X's and O's, but he was so invested in the players' lives, and he wasn't even a yeller or screamer. But our teams played so hard for him, and he has teams at Georgia Tech doing the same thing. They would run through a wall because they knew that he cared about them as a person, their life, their families. And so it wasn't even about a basketball thing. So that was the first coach that I went around that had that as like the number one priority. I've had some other coaches that was as a priority, but Coach Crimmins was number one. Number 2, it stands out, recruiting. Bobby Crimmins was always, looking for guys who, just kind of had a different knack. And he was unique in recruiting, where I learned this from him. He wouldn't just watch a player when he's on the court. He would watch him when in the handshake line. He would watch him when they sat on the bench. He would watch them at the end of the game when they would go talk to their mom or their dad or whatever else. And he would just have this laser focus on them. And because he wanted to know, how they were in adversity, how they were as a teammate, different things like that. So everybody says, I want the guy to run, jump, and shoot high. And I would watch him, and he'd be looking off in the stands. I was like, Coach, watch over here. And he's like, no, this is more important. And so I got that from him too, to understanding all that part of it. And then let's see, coming up with 3, I'll say this. He kind of said this in a lot of ways. If you have smart players that have a good feel for the game, you can give them more freedom. And so we used to recruit basketball instinct and smarter guys. And whether they were a great student or not, sometimes they were, sometimes they weren't, but they were smart basketball players and smart instincts that we didn't have to control every dribble. And we can give them freedom because they can read and react and make good plays. And as I got more experience in coaching, I saw what he's saying. And the guy who's less intelligent, you have to control him and tell him everywhere to go. The guy who's smarter has a good feel. You can kind of let them go a little bit. They'll make you look good.
This next one is actually not a question and a statement. It's from Khalil. He said, hey, Coach, thanks for doing this. You left me a voicemail on March the 27th saying in part that the team is set to achieve great things. I can't tell you how stoked I am to win in the AUBC. So this isn't a question, just a comment of support. Let's go.
Love it. Love it.
Let's see, next is from Kevin Albright. It's like, welcome to the family, Jamie family coach. Being an analytics-minded coach, what is one statistic that you feel is a major indicator of success? At the end of the game, you feel confident looking at this stat and you could predict a win or a loss.
There's probably 4 or 5. And I'll say the defensive ones first. One stat is it's PPP. It's points per possession. And, you want your team, and the best teams in the country are going to be 0.8 or less. And what that means is it takes into account turnovers. It takes into account how many times you're fouling, whether the team's getting 3s or 2s or different things like that. So that's not in a normal stat book, but I'm looking at that. I'm looking at effective field goal percentage for both offense and defense. Sometimes, we might have a game where things are going well and we make 12, 13 threes, and then the stats might show we shot 46% or 45%, but our effective field goal percentage is really good. And then on defensive side of it too, we want to make sure that we're not giving up a high effective field goal percentage. I'm big on turnovers. I think any coach in any sport that has turnovers will always talk about that. So I don't want to give away possessions, whether it's offense or defense. And I'm always looking at that stat pretty quick. The next thing I'm looking at, kind of along with the same lines are assists. I'll know if the ball's moving and our amount of passes and we're playing the right way if we have high assist games. But defense is going to be, the PPP, effective field goal percentage. Offense is going to be our turnovers and probably effective field goal percentage.
Okay. All right, let's see. The next one is from Mike Pryor. What is your best memory as a player?
I mean, there's so many memories that you have as a player that's on the court and off the court. Kind of going through high school. I can remember playing against Allen Iverson. Like he was the man, like rightfully so, and kind of going against him and win the state championship and doing certain things in high school. In college, sometimes memories get brought back to you, and we're recruiting a player from New York, and his AAU coach is a guy named Dana Dingle who played at UMass. And we were having a good chuckle that we were talking about. I was like, I played you when you're at UMass, and he didn't remember me. And I was like, well, that don't make me feel good. and so I was like, let's get off this phone call now. Let's pull off this box score. And in my mind, I thought the game was a lot closer than what it was. And I might have tuned some bad things out. But I remember playing decently well early, playing against him. They were #1 team in the country. And I was humbled when I realized they beat us 77-51. So it's just kind of the championship games and playing, the moments, the coaches. I mean, some of the funniest things that happen in practice that I still get together with my old teammates and we rehash that we get together on. So, we had Jake Billis spoke to our team today, and Jake Billis said this, and I've already told our guys this 2 or 3 times, and I haven't seen him in person, that college is the best time of your life, and you're going to build so many memories, whether you go on and just have this unbelievable professional life or families, everything else, but college is unbelievable. He said the same thing to our team, and it's always about just making the most of it, and so we told the same thing to our guys, and I wouldn't trade my college experience for anybody, for anything. I had a good time, and I want to make sure our guys are cherishing theirs and understand that don't look for the future. Make sure we're cherishing this very present moment.
Great. The next question or comment was from the Hiddies asking about what you knew about the band. And I know you played against the band, but really all the Spirit teams we have here and how excited you are to deal with them going forward.
So this is a compliment. As a visiting team, I can tell you the band is annoying and they do a great job. And they are right there where it actually frustrates the coach, the players, and I thought about that when I was thinking about coming up here as a player and walking through the Conville. I thought about that, and so that builds the home court advantage. Their spirit, their enthusiasm. I've had some different communications with some honorary band members, some people that were there in the past, and I told them, how good they were. And I believe, I don't want to say this and be out of line, but I believe they're going to have nice seating in their new arena and going to be a great impact in the new place too.
We put them as close to the visiting bench as we could.
Perfect. Put like the tuba player and like somebody on the bench. Can we do that?
Well, we could probably auction that off as well.
Yeah, let's just put him right down there. Just put him right there in the middle. That'd be perfect.
So we had a number of questions about Harrisonburg. I'm going to try to combine them into one. We talked about recruiting into the city. It talked about you living here. So is there, I know it's been hard to get out in the city because you can't really do anything. But is there so far, is there a favorite thing that you have about the town? And then how do you recruit to a city like Harrisonburg?
It's going to sell itself. And, you know, having a chance to go to college at JMU and with the city and everything else, we're not going to have a problem with that. I can tell you my favorite thing about Harrisonburg, and the cafeterias aren't even open yet, is I found a lot of good food spots, and I'm still like searching for my best sushi spot and Mexican restaurant. But there is some, I found too many good Italian restaurants already that's causing me to, you know, have to work out extra hard. I definitely know a good steak spot that we had a good moment to share. But I like the food. And I'll tell you what else that my son and I have a 12-year-old son that we've gotten into that I really wasn't doing is there's so many things to do outdoors. The mountain bike ride and getting outside, running, hiking. We've been in, done some hikes here and done some things. So there's a lot of cool things for families. We're really enjoying the area. We're happy to be here.
That's great. This one's from Mike Funkhauser. It says, it seems in the last few years, our free throw shooting has been atrocious, particularly in crunch time, and cost us quite a few games. Discuss from a coaching perspective how this can be improved.
Yeah, so it is, so first thing you're doing in the off season is you're working on routine, and you're going through the routine with the guys and making sure there's not mechanic issues. I do like the fact that I have a sports psychology background, because everyone thinks a free throw is just about going up and shooting your form. And I can tell you this, just because you can go out in your driveway and make that free throw, and maybe you might be able to make it 8 out of 10 times, it doesn't exactly translate in front of 15,000 people when you got people yelling at you and the game's on the line. So you have to get guys to understand that it's a routine-based thing. They have to have their fundamentals in order, and they have to do their routine regardless of the situation, and be so entrenched in saying, all right, this is my routine. This is what I do. This is the self-talk I say. And guys have to have good experiences doing it. So if, you know, the psychology of it is, if you went up and you've missed a bunch of them, and now the game's on the line and it's your time to go up, it's going to be hard to be mentally tough enough to retrain your mind to be able to say, all right, well, now's the time I'm going to step up and make them. You have to want to be there. So what I've done in the past is this. Like I said, the routine stuff in the off season, we practice them a ton, rep them a ton, but I'll bring in outside help. And I'll have people that will talk to the team, sports psychologists, about not only what the thoughts going through their head, but how they should breathe and different things going on. So it's not as simple as just walking up to the line and saying, I'm going to make it. And also you need the right guys up there. And this is not a study that I know about, but I believe it's true. It's one of the most contagious things in basketball. If you start the game and the guy goes up there and we start the game 7 out of 8, we're probably going to win the game pretty well. First couple of guys go up there and miss it, puts more pressure on the next guy. So I've actually talked to some players from last year, and they referenced there was an exhibition game last year that the team apparently shot pretty poorly from the free throw line, and they swear it carried over for 30-something games after. And I said, no, we can't let that happen again. So if there's one game, we wash it away, put it behind us, and go ahead. But but the point, the fair point is, you don't want to give away any points during the game. And if you're a team and you get up there 28 times and you go 16 out of 28 and you lose a game by 1 or 2, it very well could be the difference between winning or losing. So you want to take advantage of all those.
That's great. This is another one from Chad Hanna. I think he's actually talking smack to you a little bit here, but coming from Salem, Shame it's the Spartans. Do you foresee yourself looking in Southwest Virginia for recruiting in the future?
We'll go anywhere. We'll go anywhere. We got a good one right now from Southwest Virginia I'm really excited about. Julian Wooden, who actually played at my rival high school. And his high school coach is a coach named Billy Pope, who was my brother's JV coach. And so I've known him for a long time, and I know he was well coached in high school. But, we'll go anywhere. There is some good players in Southwest Virginia. There's a lot of good football players down there. Maybe not as many basketball, but if they're good, we're going to try to get them up here. And it's so close by. We're going to prioritize really anything within a 3.5, 4-hour circle of Harrisonburg, and that's definitely in that circle.
Great. Another one from Alan. What steps can or will you take to ensure that we're the best conditioned team in the CAA?
Well, I'm really impressed with our strength coach. And, unfortunately for our strength coach, he took over halfway through the team last year. He didn't have a full season to be able to condition and train. And we've had a lot of good meetings on what I want guys to look like, what I want them to move like, in the pace of play and different things, the mental toughness, physical toughness. And his name's Cody. If you guys haven't met him, he came from UMass. The only problem I have with him is he went to App State. And so can't like that about anything. So, but I'm real impressed with him, and we're on the exact same page. Right now, he's sending stuff to our guys, whether it be virtually or video, or print things to try to help our guys stay in shape and conditioning. But when we get them back on campus, we'll be moving in the right direction with that for sure.
Great. Another question was around, and I wrote it down, but I didn't see, I think it was Gerald that asked. You had mentioned earlier about the transfers and being eligible or not. When do you think you'll know from the NCAA whether they will be eligible or not?
So we started the process we have 4 of them that we're looking to try to get immediately eligible. We started a process on 2 of them. The next 2 will start next week. And for understanding the NCAA, which really is above my head, I don't understand it well. I do like that we have Stephen Laporte here, who is an incredible compliance officer, who really knows the rules up and down and how to tell you and explain it to you in simplistic terms. There's different types of waivers that you can get players eligible right away. The NCAA, we thought, was going to pass a rule in all college athletics. It's called a one-time transfer waiver, where you can transfer one time to Division I school from a Division I school and not sit out. Well, that didn't pass through, but there still is ways to get people eligible right away. And just the different types of waivers. There's a hardship waiver, which means a lot of times that you're getting back closer to home, or you have an extremity circumstance why you got to get back closer to home. There is a runoff waiver, which means the previous place that you were at said that it'd be better for you to go somewhere else, or sometimes it's a mutual thing. And we feel really, really good about 2 of the waivers going through, and actually pretty close to feeling good about 3. And so, the guys that we got for Division I transfers, we think when we're playing next year that we're going to have a lot of those guys on the court.
Great. Next is from Neil Walker. How do you deal with the human nature of players, for example, trying to do too much individually to impress you?
You know what? I don't think a lot of times it's as a player trying to impress a coach. It's just understanding what they could do to help out the team. And guys have to find value in different things besides points. And really it's a more stronger generational thing than anything else. And as you coach, and I've coached for 20 something years now, and I was a player and everything else. When a family or somebody who knows as a personal relationship with the player, if they didn't see the game, the first thing they're calling and I'm asking them to say, how many points you scored? And then the next thing is probably, well, how many minutes did you play? And then maybe the third question is, well, did you win? And what you have to do is you got to have the guys that understand that there's value in the team, and the winning becomes from more than just points. And they might not score a point, and they were the reason because we won. And understanding that there's value and there's different things they could do to help us be successful. And we give positive reinforcement to really a lot of things in our basketball program that aren't points. Like I'm giving positive reinforcement to the guy who made the pass, not to the guy who scored. I give positive reinforcement to the guy who set the screen, not the guy who scored. And guys will understand that we're going to value what they do way beyond the guy who just scored the most points. But you need the guy to score points too, but there's different things guys can do to help us win games.
We have one that asked if you could give a good Brett Blizzard story, but I know you guys just missed each other, right?
Yeah, but we're actually good friends. So the funny story I have about Brett Blizzard was I didn't meet him till after his freshman year, and we were 2 years apart. And I went down to Wilmington, and we have a real close common friend that introduced us. And at the time, when I left Wilmington, I had the all-time leading three-point record. And I met him the first time I met him, and he just made over 100 threes in his freshman year. And the first time I met him, I said, "Will you do me a favor?" And he goes, "What is that?" And I said, "Just let me enjoy the record for at least one more year." I said, "Don't break it your sophomore year." I said, "It took me 4 years to do that." I said, I said, because I need to enjoy it a little bit longer. And he was nice enough to only break it his junior year. So I had one more year enjoying it. But I do think when he left, he was like top 4 or top 5 all time in the NCAA. But and that brings me back to a point. You know, I think we had Wilmington going well, but he was a difference maker. And sometimes you get a guy like that in the program, it changes everything. And he took Wilmington to a new level because he was so talented and such a good player that sometimes that's how close you are is getting a player like that. And next thing you know, you're off and running.
So we have time for a couple more questions. First, I need to apologize to Ray Sillenberg because he's all over me because I called him Rich. Sorry about that, Ray. Rich, whatever your actual name was. No, Ray. These are two really good ones, Coach, and I'm going to start with something wrong with my computer. It was asking if I'll paraphrase because I can't pull it up right now. With everything that's going on the last couple of weeks in the country, have you had a chance to talk to the players about what's going on and what's been the nature of those talks?
Yeah, we tried to address it immediately, and it's extremely difficult, Tom. And you know, almost feel embarrassed to have a happy hour right now with what's going on with certain things in our country and the coronavirus. That you know, I think we need a good time, but there's a lot of serious things going on. And one of the things you know, when I had a Zoom meeting with our players and we got them all together, and I gave them my thoughts, but it quickly turned to this. I said, "What do you guys want me to do for you?" And I'll do anything you want me to do. I'll be the vehicle. I'll be the message that I want to do anything I can for you. And we talked about things that, and I gave them opportunities to share their thoughts, their moments, and what they thought. And I think we came together something as a team that was pretty consensus. And that we came to that words aren't enough right now, and that violence is not the answer, and that we're trying to figure out still right now as a team to how to make sure that we have a change. But we did have a consensus that you know, words just aren't going to do it, and that violence is the wrong thing to do right now. And so I told them I have their backs. I said, you know, what they want to do and what they want me to do, I got their backs, and then. And that we definitely need to make sure that this is a moment that we don't have, and we're talking about 30 years now, because I referenced Rodney King to them, that I can remember when I was going, I said, we're 30 years out and we're having the same conversation. I said, we got to make sure that this is not the same as we're going forward now, that is going to be a change.
You know, I can only speak for myself, but I appreciate you speaking to the guys and letting them know how you feel and letting them talk, because right now leadership is more important than ever. And we're going to end with the last question on, as fans, what can we do to help you elevate this program?
show up and be crazy. And bring 5 people with you. You know, and it's every single thing we're doing. And so you might be at a game and somebody mentioned it, we might be missing free throws. Keep encouraging, you know, because guys will see, you know what, this the power in numbers, the power in strength. And however many core group we have right now, we're going to keep building it. But we definitely need that strong support group right now. But let's make this new arena the toughest place to play in the CAA. Let's make it one of the toughest places to play in the country. Some things I can't guarantee. I guarantee we're going to play extremely hard. All right. And then we're going to represent the school the right way and do the right things. But there's non-negotiables I have. But how hard we play and how hard we're going to get after it, I could promise you that. And you'll watch on the court. You'll be proud of the guys out there.
That's great, Mark. Thanks so much for your time, not only tonight, but really how available you've been to Do Club, to the fans, doing all kinds of interviews. We really appreciate it. And as a reminder, you know, we're going to try to stay engaged. I know things have been tough for everybody. We're going to try to do things like this every week. Like as a reminder, next week we have Coach Eikenberry for trivia night. So you'll win fabulous gift bags, or we'll come up with something to send you. And then Brett Jackson can defend his championship. Maybe we should have a trivia belt, and it goes from person to person. And then the week after that, on June 18th, we'll have Coach O, Shauna Reagan, on to do what Mark just did and answer any questions you guys have. Thanks for joining us. Everybody stay safe and healthy, and go Dukes. Thank
you, guys. Have a good night.